This is the Rookie Big Board Rookie Profile Series. I am your host, Matt Hicks, the FF Educator, joined by John Lobb, the Gridiron Scholar, to break down Syracuse running back Sean Tucker. We're going to get into the stats. We're going to get into the film. We're going to get into the fantasy and NFL draft projection here over the next 10 or so minutes. John, let's dig into this big man and big polarizing player.
When I was a kid, Syracuse was known as like running back U. I used to read old stories about Jim Brown, Ernie Davis, the Heisman winner, Larry Zonka, the Miami Dolphins Hall of Famer. The number 34 was a special number. Syracuse went off the charts as running back U decades ago, but Sean Tucker is back in an orange uniform, and this is a very interesting prospect for fantasy football fans to know about. In high school, he was a 3-star recruit from Maryland. What I liked about him most on his high school resume, he was a track star. Matt, we like track and field stars in high school. He won the indoor title in the 55-meter dash, and he was the champion in the 100-meter and 200-meter sprints as a junior. Obviously, running isn't everything as far as an NFL running back and just pure speed, but it does translate at times. And for Sean Tucker, Matt, his speed translates on the field. As a true freshman in COVID, he started the final 6 games of the year for the Orange. He scampered for the third most yards in a single season by a freshman with 626. He was twice named the ACC Running Back of the Week against Georgia Tech and Notre Dame. So early breakout player, everyone. In 2021, he was so much better. Freshman team All-American and first team All-ACC. He smashed the Syracuse single-season rushing record with 1,496 yards. And I just kind of told you, those incredible players all time at the university. He scored 14 total touchdowns, and he had 20 catches that year. He was also a Doak Walker Award semifinalist. In 2022, he wasn't as good, Matt. The offense was tweaked a little bit. It changed. They had the quarterback was more efficient in the passing game. But at the end of the day, he posted his second 1,000-yard campaign for Syracuse. He was named second team All-ACC running back, third team All-ACC all-purpose player, and second team Associated Press All-ACC. His 36 receptions were the third highest single season total by a running back in school history. For his career, he concluded his tenure third on the all-time rushing list. He's the first player in program history to post back-to-back seasons with over 1,000 yards rushing and 250 receiving yards. He's one of only 4 runners with over 3,000 career rushing yards. And he posted 2 of the 12 best single-season rushing totals in school history. Sean Tucker's arriving in the NFL with an incredible production profile. Matt, what does your film study say about Sean Tucker?
When we're talking about Sean Tucker, we're talking about a powerful runner. We're talking about an aggressive runner. He comes with a nice frame, John, and he knows how to use it. But what makes Sean Tucker exciting is that he pairs that frame with good lateral agility. So we see examples of Sean Tucker moving well east to west just as much as he can hit that A gap here and run over ACC defenders. Now, John, Sean Tucker, it's really interesting with his speed because you watch Sean Tucker live and even dig into the tape, and he doesn't always seem to match that track speed profile that you talked about, right? And so that was something I initially struggled with on Sean Tucker's summer scouting evaluation. I didn't see that speed, but where you see it, John, is when he gets into space, he is the definition of a downhill runner. He starts to build that momentum through the second level of the field, and he gets a second level burst. And that second level burst, John, is going to be a X factor in the NFL. But we're going to talk about it here in a second. It needs space in order to help it create. In terms of being a 3-down back, John, I do think he has that potential because he's reliable in pass protection. You mentioned it earlier. He has some solid hands, not the best pass catcher in the class, but he can definitely, hold his own with 45 to 50 targets at the next level. And he can be out there on third down because he's got a nice anchor and he's able to pick up on blitz as well and protect his passer, which is not always something that was easy to do in a pretty chaotic Syracuse offense. Let's be honest, both last year and this year under two different offensive coordinators, things were pretty chaotic. And John, it doesn't show up in the analytics profile, but you have to give him a shout out. An unmatched Twitter game that goes in Sean Tucker's strengths. It is hilarious. If you have not seen Sean Tucker's Twitter game, let's put it this way: it's very pleasing. All right, the weakness is here for Sean Tucker. To be fair to his evaluation, it's going to be his vision. All right. I see an indecisive runner, John, and this might be a result of trying to do too much in a Syracuse offense that, didn't really give runners a lot of time. I'm hoping it's a result of that, but too often I see Tucker trying to do too much behind the line of scrimmage. There will be a gap open. He'll hesitate. That gap will close too quickly for him to go through it. And I think, John, it kind of exacerbates what sometimes you see on film, which is that he doesn't look that fast. I think it's more of a decisiveness problem, and it's probably backed by confidence. So sometimes these guys translate at the NFL level, and all of a sudden, with more space, they look even more comfortable. But anytime you have questionable vision, John, it's a serious yellow flag for me. And so that does factor into where I profile Sean Tucker. And so there's a lot of excitement here, a little bit of hesitation with his film, but I definitely see why folks are into him, John. Let's put that into the context of his stats.
I had the opportunity to see him live against UConn at the Rent in West Hartford, and it was a great game. But the one thing I was disappointed in is they were so good throwing the football that day. Garrett Schrader had one of his best games throwing, so we didn't see as many touches from Sean Tucker. When I plugged him into my model, Matt, the first thing I always look for is size. He looks small, but he is listed at 5'10", 210. He has a very sturdy frame, big thighs. I do think he can take the pounding. However, you're right about his vision. And I wonder, when you said game speed doesn't look as fast, I kind of felt the same thing. Does his vision keep him, because it's not as good, does it keep him from exploding? Because he does explode in space, but that's because he doesn't have to use his vision. So I'm not sure exactly. There is some challenges there going on. Rushing yards, Matt, 30, 182. My model likes that. His dominant year at Syracuse, 1,751 scrimmage yards. Look at that scrimmage yards dominator. He was 40% of the offense, Matt. That is an incredible workload. So his body and frame has shown us at the college level that he can handle it. 5.4 yards per carry, and I would not say the Orange have a dominant offensive line. So that's an impressive number. 64 career receptions. He's not in the Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not an elite pass catcher, but Matt, he's proficient in space. If you got him the ball on the outside, Sean Tucker can blast upfield. What should fantasy football fans know about Sean Tucker, Matt?
The draft capital will be really important with Sean Tucker here. And so this will be something to watch here over the course of the draft process. I think he's right on the edge of a top 50 selection right now. So I could see him being pick number 45. I could see him being pick number 65, John. And that is a separator at pick 50 in my draft capital. So that will definitely swing the way I feel ultimately about Sean Tucker. But I think regardless of how I feel about it, he's going to go in the 109 to 112 pick range in fantasy football drafts, because Sean Tucker is the type of prospect that there's going to be certain people in your league that love him him, and certain people in your league that totally fade him. But that is going to lead to him being a first round selection, right? Whether or not you place that value on him, somebody in your league will place that value on him. John, I have him projected in a weekly starter tier, which means I think he could be a solid running back too for you. Top 24 guy, hang around, give you a consistent production, not somebody you're super worried about putting into your lineup on a weekly basis, assuming he's healthy, assuming that he's getting decent volume in that offense. And so for that reason, John, I'm comparing his fantasy football value to a guy like Cam Akers. Remember Cam Akers coming out? A lot of people loved him. Some people didn't. He's had some huge weeks, and he's gaining momentum now that everything seems to be settled with his situation there in Los Angeles. And so I think he's going to have kind of a similar value point as Sean Tucker in this year's Dynasty startup drafts, John. Probably going to end up with low exposure to Sean Tucker, and it's just because there's other guys I like better in the range. But I do think if you're taking Tucker at 112, even 111, 201, that's going to be a perfectly solid value spot. If you're enjoying the rookie profiles here, make sure to head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard. Support us, get access to all the resources we have available, including the 2023 rookie guide, including full rankings and profiles on every rookie in the class, including access to the Rookie Big Board Discord. And as always, we appreciate you checking out this episode of the Rookie Big Board.